Hey everybody, I hope that you're doing well. You will have no doubt seen on social media and on the news as well of the events that are unfolding in America. People are rightly angry at the way that black people have been treated. The racial hatred and the inequality that goes on. It's otherwise known as a great injustice. It doesn't just happen in America either. I know that some of you have experienced racial hatred even in the UK. I hope that you find that YPF and Boys Brigade and Girls Brigade and Hub and the whole of Bethel are a place where you're treated as an equal. You're treated as one who's been created in the image of God, because that is exactly what you are. That is the truth. None of us should be treated as any less than anybody else. You know, as we look at this situation unfolding, it's important to ask, what should we be doing? How do we respond to the situations developing, not just in the US, but indeed across the whole world now? You know, one man has had crowds moved from in front of him. They've been pushed out of the way, some of these protesters, so that he could stand in front of a church posing, holding a Bible. It's sad to see, because a Bible is not used for self-gain. It should never be used to win your own points or to get your own way. Actually, the Bible is calling us to live in a very different way. It teaches us that there's a God and that we've been created, all of us, in the image of God. We all have importance. It also teaches us that our God loved us so much that he was willing to send his one and only Son to die for us, because our sin had created a great divide and was leading us to death. As we read on here, we can find that forgiveness can be found in Christ Jesus. And as we trust in him, we should live in a way that is countercultural, that sticks out from everybody else. Let's just give you one example of that. In Micah chapter 6, verse 8. In the verses just before it, Micah's been saying, what does the Lord want? Does he want big sacrifices? Does he want thousands of gallons or 1,000 rivers of oil poured out? Does he want lavish gifts? And then he goes on to say what God really wants, he's already told us. Micah chapter 6, verse 8. He has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Each and every one of us today should be seeking to do that. This is the greatest thing that we could ever do. Let's break it down a little bit. First of all, we should do justice. Now that comes in two forms. First of all, we should stand up against injustice. So as we hear of things developing around the world, if it makes us angry and we see the injustice within it, we should rightly stand against that. Now, there's many ways of doing that, and I want to encourage you to do it in a peaceful and a loving way, in light of what it says next. But we should always seek to stand up against injustices. Christians have done that for 2,000 years, right across the world. Even in our own nation, people like William Wilberforce and John Newton, who stood up against slavery that happened in those days. There are Christians even today standing up against modern day slavery, because injustice cannot be stood for as Christians. We want justice. So I want to encourage you to be proactive, not just in the whole world situation, but even within your friendship groups. If you see injustice happening, to stand up against it. But also, it calls us to do justice, to do the right thing. And so I want to encourage you every single morning to ask God to give you the strength to do the right thing in every situation, to be prayerful with him right throughout the day, asking him, Lord, what is the right thing to do here? Help me to choose the right path. Help me to do justice. Well, the next thing here is that not only are we to stand up against injustice and to do just ourselves, but we're also to love kindness. We should constantly be seeking ways to love and care for people around us, whether it's a phone call or a message during lockdown, or maybe when we're out of here, it's getting to somebody and speaking to them and caring for them, asking forgiveness of people that you've not shown kindness to, seeking to go above and beyond for all people so that we can love kindness and promote it within our lives. Well, the final thing here is possibly the most important, because the first two stem out of this third one, and it's this: to walk humbly with your God. You know, to walk humbly means to recognize that God is almighty and we are just his creation. We're not God ourselves, and so we should deal with God in all reverence and worship and respect, but we should also seek to get rid of our pride as we listen for his voice and obey his word. Can I ask you, has there been a moment in your life when you've actually come to God and said, Lord, I need the forgiveness that can only be given to me by Jesus dying on the cross. Please forgive me of my sin. Help me to trust in you, to walk humbly, to love mercy and kindness, and also to do justice. Have you become a Christian? Have you trusted in Jesus? Are you seeking to love and care for other people? Even as a teenager, you can change the world through the way that you love and care for others. But first of all, it has to come from loving God and trusting in him and allowing him to direct your heart, your hands, your feet, and your mouth to care for others.